So welcome back to Road to BUCS episode 3. Today I'm just going to go through quickly some of my training highlights from this week and just go through some of the really basic rules of competition that I've got to adhere to during my competition. So here's my top set of squats for the week, which was 160 kilos set of 3 at 7.5 RPE. So the main rule for squats is that your hip crease has to go below your top of your knees, and that's called that's squat depth, so that's making sure that you squat deep enough for competition. So as you can see on these squats, I'm well below that by a couple of inches really, but that's just to make them safe, so that make sure I don't get any lifts failed during the comp. So in terms of what we're looking at now, this is one of my back off sets with 155 kilo. My back off sets moved really well this week, which was nice and a bit of a confidence boost ready for next week. I'm not very confident usually with squats, and I sort of psych myself out usually. However, this week was a lot better and actually completed all my sets at above 150 kilo, which is a lot of progress for me, and that puts me in good stead for next week. So my top set of the day was 160 kilo, which you saw earlier. That was a big PR for me. I've never touched that weight for a triple before. The most reps I've ever done with that weight was 2, and then I failed the triple, and that was in about November this year. So it's definitely getting there, which is good. So coming up in the next clip after this one finishes is my bench top set of the week, which was 95 kilos for a set of 3 at RPE 7.5. I wasn't very happy with this. There was a bit of a poor setup from me. I wasn't retracting my shoulder blades well enough, and I didn't have enough leg drive. So you'll notice that I'm quite shaky at the bottom of the lift and my breathing's off. So I'm losing a lot of stability and thus power. I was actually aiming for 100 kilos this session, but I had a lot of recovery compromises and thus I didn't quite get there. So the main rule that I want to focus on for bench this week is that the fact that we have to pause the bar on our chest during a competition. So that's just to make sure that the bar's not moving, we're not using an excess rebound from our bouncing it off our chest or anything like that to make it a bit fairer. So I'm doing an okay job at these at the moment, so making sure the bar's motionless before I begin my press. What we're looking at now is one of my back down sets at 90 kilos for a set of 3, and then I also did 85 kilos for 2 sets of 3 at RPE 7 as well on back offs. They moved a little bit better, but as you can see I'm still losing a bit of tightness at the bottom, so that's something I need to work on for next week, but we'll get there. So moving on to deadlifts, so this is my final session of the week. I managed to pull 200 kilos for a set of 3 at RPE 7.5. So this is a really big PR for me, and this indicates my deadlift training is going well. I'm still quite rounded in my lower back, which is helping with me in terms of speed off the floor, but sometimes it compromises my lockouts a little bit. So you'll see on the last rep of that set, I'm a bit shaky in my leg, and it almost looks like I hitched it. But I talked to my coach, and he's quite happy with it, so I'm happy with it. In terms of back offs, I did 190 kilos, a set of 3 at 8.5/9. This didn't move very well at all because the last rep I lost all my tightness, didn't use any leg drive and just muscled it up, which caused the spike in RPE. And in terms of rules for the deadlift, what we want to focus on is making sure that our hips, knees and back and shoulders are all locked out appropriately in order to make sure that we're locking the reps and finishing the reps properly. So that wraps up this week's training. So next week is the heaviest week of this block, and I'll be working up to some heavier triples, especially on bench press and squat. See you then.